Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
Well, we've looked at the first G.I. Joe cartoon miniseries where Cobra tried to take over the world with a mass device and failed. Then we looked at the Revenge of Cobra miniseries where Cobra tried to take over the world with a weather dominator and failed. Again.
But I'm sure third time's the charm for them, as today we're taking a look at the third miniseries.
The Pyramid of Darkness. And of course, we start with part 1, called The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe. You know, individual episodes of previous miniseries had titles like Slave of the Cobra Master and A Stake in the Serpent's Heart, so not gonna lie, I'm pretty disappointed with this title. I mean, The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe seems like they're phoning it in. The story starts with the Joes preparing to launch their space shuttle, because they have one of those now, I guess. And no, it's not the Defiant, or at least they never name the thing in the episode, they just call it a space shuttle.
This space shuttle will be mine!
Okay, this episode aired in 1985 and the Defiant was sold in 1987. However, pre-production of toys takes about a year or more, and it's very possible Hasbro already had the idea to make a space shuttle before that, so they might have pushed for a shuttle to be featured in the cartoon. Though since the Defiant wasn't designed yet, it had to be a regular shuttle. Anyway, the launch happens, and it's at that point Cobra attacks. And the laws of physics just got a huge migraine and are gonna sit this one out because the amount of thrust needed to let a shuttle reach escape velocity isn't gonna be countered by some ropes on some HISS tanks.
And speaking of things that are impossible,
this space shuttle will be mine!
Wrong again, Chrome Cheeks!
Yeah, I just had to call an ambulance for the laws of physics. It's not looking good, you guys. Also, you may recall Cobra Commander was captured at the end of the Revenge of Cobra, but he's just fine here. Yeah, G.I. Joe and continuity have never been close pals. Proof positive of that right here.
Also,
this space shuttle will be mine!
Wrong again, Chrome Cheeks!
how could you hear what he was saying?
The Joes have quite a few tricks up their sleeves with hidden personnel and vehicles, allowing them to turn the tide of the battle.
Thought they breached the canopy!
How dare they anticipate my strategy!
It's a great dynamic battle with cool things happening even in the background. Though I have to point out a slight error. Tomax and Zaymat lose their trouble bubbles, but are later seen flying them anyway. Still, it's an awesome battle. But alas, all good things must come to an end, and the commander must use his catchphrase.
Retreat! Retreat!
Well, short miniseries, but hey, it was fun. I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, yeah, okay, there's more stuff.
The commander's retreat is interrupted, and he ends up in the drink too. All seems lost, but the bad guys are then saved by two giant water-filled robots. This is getting weird fast. The Joes go after them with sharks, while Flint and Lady J go after Destro. Spoilers, both missions will fail as the commander gets dropped off by the robots, who then turn around to lay the absolute smackdown on the sharks. Shipwreck and Snake Eyes do manage to give them the slip.
Let's see if this gets us anywhere.
Meanwhile, Destro evades capture by flying his plane into one of the Twin Towers.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this is not the World Trade Center. These are the buildings of Extensive Enterprises, the company owned by Tomax and Zaymat. The site is just modeled after the Twin Towers because they are twins, you see. Look, this cartoon is from 16 years before 9/11, obviously.
So let's just try to ignore it and move on.
The commander explains the attack was just a diversion, and while everybody was busy shooting, a rattler went up to the shuttle and snuck a cargo pod on board. Using a tractor beam because rattlers have that, apparently. Okay, making a colossal military failure part of your plan probably is a very smart thing for Cobra to do, since those tend to happen to them anyway.
Special cargo pod!
And just what is this cargo? Well, we'll soon find out as the shuttle is heading for the space station from 2001 A Space Odyssey. Well, that is what it is. And it's G.I. Joe's very own space station.
Next up, G.I. Joe Space Station Delta.
That thing must have cost $1 trillion.
Military spending, everybody!
The Joes, and one non-Joe that's in no way suspicious, discover the extra cargo. Yeah, he is of course Zartan, and he's even managed to smuggle the Dreadnoks on board. Good thing those cargo pods aren't airtight, I guess. Meanwhile, the Joes decide to open the pod.
What? No?
It's cargo you didn't put there that appeared after Cobra shenanigans. Jettison that thing into space and watch it float into the sun. Have you not seen Alien?
And now we come to one of the most divisive things in the G.I. Joe fandom. I give you the Fatal Fluffies.
Oh, how adorable. Oh, they're so cute.
There are G.I. Joe fans who hate this. There are G.I. Joe fans who love this. As for me,
I don't really care.
it's the cartoon. A lot of weird crap happens in it, but I'll talk more about them later.
I'm sure you will enjoy their deadly secret.
That's not what the card says. Also, that's a threat from Cobra Commander. I don't care if they're cute, shove them in the nearest airlock and blow them into space. Zartan makes himself known, and by blowing on a whistle, he transforms the Care Bears rejects into huge monsters. As you do. They also grow laser pistols for some reason. The Joes fight back, but are overwhelmed by the furry onslaught and are forced to surrender. Leaving behind the Minotaur fuzzies from outer space, we check in with Shipwreck and Snake Eyes, who are able to sneak into Cobra's underwater facility. Though even Shipwreck admits they're not the ideal infiltration team. The Wolf and Parrot certainly don't help. Despite this, they acquire some Cobra uniforms and join the subway.
Now try to relax and act natural.
He's still wearing his mask. I think people are gonna notice. Also, kinda ironic that these Cobras don't wear masks. Meanwhile, back at G.I. Joe headquarters...
Responding to my transmission, it has enabled me to lock firing coordinates on your headquarters.
Okay, Zartan didn't install that, they just had it, and I'm pretty sure an orbital death laser is illegal or against some convention, but you do you, Joes. All things are coming up Cobra, and this is just the beginning as the commander explains his master plan. In a nutshell, 4 cubes will be placed on Earth and will link up with the space station, forming a pyramid that makes it impossible for electricity to function. Though half of Australia looks like it should be fine though. Shipwreck and Snake Eyes have arrived at their destination, where those cubes are being made. They do have to get through security though, which Cobra appears to have outsourced to the Cylons.
Repeat.
Hail, Cobra Commander!
Intruders exterminated!
Well, they're dead.
And that was the first episode of the Pyramid of Darkness. They sure went bigger with this by having a frickin' space station, and I like the twist of Cobra winning by losing.
Let's end with some trivia.
This is the 3rd standalone miniseries, but it's considered part of the first season, the first 5 episodes in fact. This particular episode saw the debut of the Crimson Twins, but they're treated like they've always been there, same with any new Joes. They also introduced their weird bond.
I feel what my brother feels. Terrific! Pass this on!
There will be one prominent character introduction later in the series, but it's spoiled somewhat by an animation error in this very episode. To get back to the Fatal Fluffies, it's interesting they're paired with Zartan and his gang.
You wanna know why?
Because these things were Hasbro's original plan for what the Dreadnoks were supposed to be, evil Ewok monsters. But Larry Hama put his foot down and said that wouldn't work, but to try evil bikers instead. This miniseries is proof that somebody at Hasbro did not want to let things go, and they'd get their evil Ewoks one way or another.
I expect a lively debate about the Fatal Fluffies in the comments below.
Overall, this miniseries starts off weird, but I like it so far, and I'm interested to see how Cobra Commander is gonna screw this up. I mean, how the story is gonna go. Today, we're taking a look at Rendezvous in the City of the Dead, aka the Pyramid of Darkness Part 2. In episode 1, Cobra takes over the G.I.Joe space station, because they have that now, and use it to destroy G.I.Joe headquarters. They're also building the Pyramid of Darkness, in which no electric devices work. Meanwhile, Shipwreck and Snake Eyes are trying to infiltrate Cobra's factory. They're in a bit of trouble as the computer doesn't recognize their voice print.
Hail Cobra Commander! The Great Snake rules forever! Exterminated! Exterminated!
Today, the role of Cobra Robot will be played by a Dalek. Luckily, it's Polly to the rescue!
Starship Pops! Starship Pops! Starship Pops! Starship Pops!
Enter and get to work.
They managed to plant a homing device on one of the cubes that will be used for the pyramid. They even explained the animals away.
Just don't tell Destro who told you to take them.
Destro owns those animals?
Well, Hitler had a canary.
Hitler had a dog. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the only time that name comes up in G.I. Joe. Probably for the best considering Cobra Commander's uniform. With G.I. Joe HQ in ruins, they relocate to the USS Flag and its lovely Admiral.
But especially when they're female.
Women aren't bad luck at sea, Admiral.
Guess he only wants to be around seamen.
Shipwreck's tracker works, and now they know where Cobra is headed.
Destro. Shipwreck must have tagged his operation.
The Devil's Playground.
And so they go after them. Meanwhile, on the space station that screams Stanley Kubrick is gonna sue somebody, the Joes there are being used as slave labor by the fatal Fluffies. And hey, they remember there's no gravity in space. Good for them. I'm sure that won't be a plot point in a minute.
Those knuckle-headed dreadnoughts. Man, even
You know, I'm not sure it's a great idea to drive petrol-powered vehicles inside a space station. Those fumes are gonna kill them. Dusty has a plan to get to the command center, namely pretending the lack of gravity has made him go nuts.
No more! No more! I need gravity!
In all the confusion, he makes it there and gets a glimpse of what Cobra is up to. Meanwhile, the first cube is arriving at its location with Destro himself in charge, but the Joes are right behind him. Cobra's defenses are surprisingly robust as they take out all the Sky Strikers.
Not used to seeing that.
Back at the factory, Shipwreck and Snake Eyes are trying to figure things out.
That laser disc programs the assembly line. Everything headquarters needs to know.
Okay, laserdiscs were first released in 1978, but the tech was still fairly new and exotic in the mid-80s, so it's a nice inclusion here. They get discovered, but two armed soldiers are no match for a parrot, and so they begin their escape. Back on the space station, where they've put up the Christmas lights apparently, Dusty is putting a wiretap of sorts in the communications array, so anything Cobra transmits will be picked up by the Joes.
Hey, random question.
Why did they assign the Desert Trooper to the space station? Anyway, there's some shenanigans with the fatal Fluffies that I was gonna skip.
But then this happens.
And after the ad break, we go back in time a few seconds, and he doesn't use his flame breath. Written themselves into a corner, had they? Anyway, the bugging works and the Joes learn exactly where Cobra is headed with the other cubes, including the City of the Dead, the place the episode is named after, and mentioned here 15 freaking minutes into a 22-minute episode.
If we don't start retaliation, we're sunk, and that's no bunk.
Roadblock said retaliation, didn't he?
So, from this point on, Roadblock will be voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
He does bring his own unique leadership to the mission.
You two dingbats never headed a mission before, so shape up now, or this goes pow!
At the same time, Alpine and Bazooka head to a frozen mountain where another cube is gonna be installed. Shipwreck and Snake Eyes are still escaping, but are spotted by the most Looney Tunes bunch of Cobra troops I've ever seen. I mean, just look at them jumping and waving their arms and fists. What follows is a chase scene that in no way rips off that part of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom that came out a year earlier.
Okay, quick nitpick.
They pick up Cobra weapons when they knock out the troopers, but they have Joe weapons for this bit all of a sudden. Anyway, they manage to escape, because of course they do.
And stash these uniforms where they belong.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to stand out or anything, sailor and ninja guy, with two animals. The battle with Destro rages on and isn't going well. In fact, it's gonna end on a almost literal cliffhanger as a cliff crumbles and drops Flint and Lady J in pink, stuff. Yeah, I don't think they ever explain what that actually is. And that was Rendezvous in the City of the Dead, where we saw maybe 10 seconds of that city.
Worst title ever. Cool episode though.
Cobra is still putting their plan into motion, and the Joes are more about intelligence gathering to figure out what the hell is going on instead of taking to fight the Cobra, though that does happen too. We see Snake Eyes and Shipwreck bonding, and the beginning of the bromance between Alpine and Bazooka. And it's refreshing to see Cobra being damn competent for a change. I mean, effectively fighting off a G.I. Joe air assault? That's practically unheard of.
The episode also does its job of making me want to see more, which is always a good thing.
Jump around. Jump around. Jump up and get down.
It's time we got back to the Pyramid of Darkness since it's been, holy crap, 2 months since the last episode? Look, I do plan to get these miniseries reviews out quicker, but it never seems to pan out that way.
Okay, quick recap.
Cobra has taken over the G.I. Joe space station, and no, I will never get over the fact the Joes have their own frickin' space station. They're also placing cubes all over the world to form the Pyramid of Darkness, hence the title. And in said pyramid, electricity won't work.
So now, let's look at part 3.
3 Cubes of Darkness. The episode starts where part 2 left off, a battle between Destro and the Joes, with Flint and Lady J stuck in goo? Yeah, I still have no idea what that stuff is. I wouldn't drink it though. Fortunately, Lady J has the most unrealistic solution possible, as she has a javelin that can produce an air bubble. Why would she even have that?
Why would such a thing even exist?
She might as well have used Mary Poppins' umbrella for all the sense it makes.
I don't know. I think it's rather cozy for...
Hey, you're in the middle of a battle and you're drowning! Focus!
Meanwhile, Shipwreck and Snake Eyes have escaped the Cobra factory and are wandering around in the Cobra-controlled city. They head into the also originally named Snake Club, and damn, it's just peak 80s in there.
The Snake Cafe is proud to present...
So, is it a cafe or a club? Make up your mind, cartoon.
The one, the only, Satin!
Also, Satin is a stripper's name.
By the way, listen to the lyrics here.
Though I'm gonna have to chop this up, because if I play the song uninterrupted, Hasbro Studios will copyright claim this video.
Cobra that got away.
Okay, so The Cobra That Got Away is the song title, I think.
Changed my life one rainy day.
Changed their life one rainy day. Okay, so far, so cheesy.
On our first rendezvous, we held hands and I heard him say,
Ah, first date.
if you want a romance from me, you're barking up the wrong tree.
She's barking up the wrong 3? Okay, I guess he just isn't into her.
But then...
Cause Destro has the first call on my
song
life.
ends, grab him.
Time and all.
Destro has the first call on his lifetime and all. Oh, she was hitting on a gay guy.
Well, how else can you interpret that?
That's hella progressive, especially for an 80s cartoon. It's so progressive, in fact, I'm pretty sure they snuck it in past the censors, since you have to be listening to the lyrics while action and dialogue is going on. Anyway, Satin.
Do I have to call her Satin? I'm gonna call her Taylor Swift.
For some reason, Taylor Swift wants to help the 2 Joes. You know, the one dressed as a sailor and the other in bondage gear. Man, her gaydar must really suck.
And this is where Snake Eyes' dignity goes to die.
Back with Flint and Lady J, they counterattack but find out that thing is a freaking Borg cube as it itself fights them, and it does a better job at it than Cobra themselves usually do. In the club they make a break for it, and I just realized where Serpentor got the idea for his outfit from. They use a secret passage. Meanwhile, at a third location,
because we haven't jumped around enough, I guess,
the Crimson Twins are placing another cube with the Joes on their tail. It looks like they're in the Forbidden City in China. How the Joes got permission to go there is anybody's guess. And apparently they can activate the Terracotta Army by stepping on a single tile.
Huh, you'd think that would have happened before.
At yet another location, this jumping around is gonna be the death of me, Major Blood is placing yet another cube. The Joes are also there because we gotta show off the cold weather toys too.
But how are we gonna get up there before Major Blood rains down on our parade?
Well, you could use the massive amount of rockets you have to reduce that ice wall to rubble, sending the cube plummeting.
Yo, look out, yeah! Oh, yo, yeah!
Or you could yodel at it, I guess. Whatever works.
Well, it doesn't reduce it to rubble, they just make a ramp. Why not bring the whole thing down again?
Take him over the crevasse, toll booth! Piece of cake for the bridge layer!
Oh right, to show off the bridge layer, since it can only do one freaking thing. Back at the club, hey, her name is Satin without an I or Y. Or it's an animation screw-up. Anyway, she bluffs her way out of trouble.
How should I know, you maxi jerk? I'll get out of here. Or I'll report you to my biggest fan. He buys all my records.
Cobra Commander's a Swiftie?
Yeah, I can see it.
So she gets them away, but remember when I said Snake Eyes' dignity died? Yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. That humiliation will have to wait though, as we're back in cold weather, where Alpine and Bazooka try to sneak up on Cobra, but Bazooka, being his cartoon character self, puts them in mortal danger instead. Switching again, I swear I'm jumping around so much this episode I won't need to go to the gym for a year. In China, the giant stone statues are somehow, don't ask me how, able to sneak up on the Joes. I mean, the hell?
I swear I could do a top 10 stupid moments video on this.
Anyway, the Crimson Twins get on with their job, and I need to point out their Crimson Guards here turn into Cobra Troopers. Or at least blue thanks to an animation error. Their work is interrupted by screaming skeletons.
Yeah, this series is kinda weird.
The Joes escape the Stone Warriors and then decide to help out Cobra? Guys, just stand back and see who wins, then attack those guys. This gives them enough time to activate the cube. That means switching to another new location, are you freaking kidding me? The space station. Now, to be fair, we hadn't seen that yet this episode, so we were due, but still...
A beam of darkness!
And so, Cobra's work is done, though Tomax did get captured, so it's not a flawless victory. Oh, and Alpine and Bazooka dig their way out. I figured they would keep that as a cliffhanger.
So our enemies survived the avalanche.
The other way!
The elements shall see to your destiny, G.I.Joe! Farewell!
Oh, so that's their cliffhanger. Okay. Also, Storm Shadow was missing his Cobra emblem for some shots. And that was 3 cubes of darkness.
How was it? All over the place, literally and figuratively.
Some things were cool, some things were stupid, and some things were what the hell. And they crammed so many locations in this one. Spread it out a bit more.
Let the stories breathe.
I did like the various battles, and all stories did progress nicely. Also, though I didn't show it, the episode had some great moments of Alpine and Bazooka being bros. The non-toy characters were cool too. Saturn and this guy who's called Colonel Slash. I guess with all of the Cobra Command people busy with cubes, they had to invent this guy as a foil for Snake Eyes and Shipwreck. I wish we'd have seen more of him. I haven't really mentioned the twin psychic bond. I might save that for when I review those characters.
Huh, should they get a main character, May? Let me know in the comments below.
Overall, it was an okay episode, but an exhausting one to sit through. I'm still excited to get to the next part though, but that has more to do with certain characters' debut than anything else. We're back to the Pyramid of Darkness miniseries, and today we're looking at Part 4, Chaos in the Sea of Lost Souls.
But first, the briefest of recaps.
Cobra have placed almost all the cube devices to form the Pyramid of Darkness, a cone under which electricity doesn't work, despite the Joe's best efforts to stop them. The only casualty being Tomax, who got captured. And that's sorta weird because usually by episode 4 in a miniseries, things have already gone tits up for Cobra.
So, good for them.
This 4th episode starts off with Alpine trying to club a seal.
Yeah, not a great look.
They then try to rock the ice, and I'm just gonna assume they're out of ammo, otherwise this makes zero sense. They are saved by a pair of nunchucks and we're introduced to...
Row to shore!
Quick Kick! Who's standing on a snow-covered hill, in the middle of a snowstorm, without a shirt, and barefoot.
How are you alive?
Anyway, he confronts the Crimson Guards, who are very accommodating by not shooting at him and Storm Shadow. And, unlike with Spirit before, this rivalry actually makes sense. You know, two martial artists. They even do that ninja thing where it takes a moment after an exchange for one of them to fall. He rescues the Joes and explains who he is.
Name's Quick Kick. I'm a movie stuntman up here, but my director took off with the equipment and my money.
Okay, that's like attempted murder.
Leaving a guy shirtless in that environment? Yeah, that director's going to jail. Meanwhile, Major Blood activates the cube and GTFOs, but the trio hitch a ride underneath the his tank. Back on the USS Flag, Tomax is being questioned and promptly escapes.
The answer is on this insignia. Look closely.
No, don't!
Yeah, remember last week when I said everybody is so much dumber in the cartoon?
This is the kind of crap I was talking about. They all looked at it, even Roadblock, who was behind him. He tries acrobating away, but is caught. This was all just to let his brother know where he is, since they have a psychic bond where one feels what happens to the other.
Zaymot is reacting to the experience of his twin Tomax. There's a psychic bond between them.
I think having such a bond would make jerking off really awkward.
Zaymot goes off to rescue his brother while Destro and the Baroness will place the final cube. The Commander Pinky swears he won't activate the pyramid until Tomax is safe, but it's a double cross.
You and the Baroness shall activate the 4th cube the instant it has been positioned.
Leaving us with two fewer partners with whom to share the Earth.
Since we haven't checked in on Taylor Swift yet this episode, let's do that now, as Shipwreck and Snake Eyes are trying to get out of the Cobra-controlled city.
And this is where their dignity finally completely dies.
Hey, entertainers don't need a special pass. We're doing a performance at Cobra Temple for...
Entertainers, huh? Okay in there, it's showtime!
Agitation, friend, that's your scene.
Yep, drink it all in. That's Snake Eyes dressed up as Boy George. There's no coming back from that, Mr. Badass Super Ninja.
Where's your god now?
They use this, unique distraction to take out the guards.
Ho ho!
You mean Yo Joe.
Okay, I can't pass this up.
Ho ho!
The slang term ho has been in use since the 60s, so they knew exactly what they were doing here. Anyway, they do manage to escape. Why does Taylor Swift have a vehicle that belongs in the Mask cartoon? Meanwhile, Zaymot has arrived at the USS Flag while the Joes engage Destro's forces. As an aside, this is the titular Sea of Lost Souls, where there are a lot of shipwrecks, but how are they all on the surface?
Makes no goddamn sense.
Meet my new Robotopus.
There's gotta be a better name than that. Octobot, maybe? She solves the tentacle problem without using a javelin for once. And I just realized Destro made a robot buddy that looks like his family's pet Eldritch Horror. Zaymat finds his brother, and they both don't believe for a second the commander will really hold off on activating the pyramid. Back with Destro, Lady J tries to murder him by throwing a javelin straight at his chest.
Damn, that's cold.
This dumbass move allows him to activate the final cube, and so, 4.5 episodes in, the Pyramid of Darkness is finally completed and activated.
Now, no electrical energy source can function unless I permit it.
And it's very convenient Flint has a Falcon glider in his cockpit. Given the size of that thing, this would be impossible, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. This does mean Destro is also reduced to using manpower to get home, as are the twins, who've come prepared. Very prepared, in fact.
Must signal our agents aboard Space Station Delta.
Oh, there it is, gentlemen. The ejection Zartan.
You mercenary traitors!
Our real employers, Tomax and Zaymot, are the ones who'll be paying.
Ah, the old double cross. Smart that, bribing the Dreadnoks. I wonder why the Joes never tried that, paid them to go away. They are just mercenaries after all.
If they have the budget for a freaking space station, they have the budget for that.
The Joes are busy converting the flag into a sailing ship, which I'm not sure would be very practical, but this is the cartoon we're talking about. Meanwhile, we have to say goodbye to Taylor Swift as she parts ways with Shipwreck.
But I've got my own song to sing. You see, Cobra framed my father for crimes he didn't commit.
And that will never be followed up on in the cartoon series.
No time for love, Dr. Jones, as they have to get that laser disc to the Joes. As Cobra Commander prepares to address the world, the Crimson Twins interrupt him and claim they have taken over, this being confirmed by the Dreadnoks, so he has no choice but to submit. Alpine, Bazooka and Quick Kick have hitched a ride all the way to the Cobra base and find that gorgeous Cobra cargo plane to, borrow to get back home.
When I fly for pay, it's usually to crash into something.
And of course, the Hollywood stuntman can fly the equivalent of a C-130 aircraft.
Never change, cartoon. Never change.
There's still some Cobras on board, so a fight breaks out and the plane goes into a nosedive, providing the cliffhanger for this episode. The end. And that was Chaos in the Sea of Lost Souls.
It was another great episode in this miniseries.
The battles were once again very good, and we're finally introduced to Quick Kick. Having him show up shirtless in very cold weather with the explanation that his boss left him there to die is very weird though.
He couldn't have shown up anywhere else.
I was kinda sad to see Saturn drive herself out of the miniseries, as I think there was more potential there. The twins doing a coup wasn't entirely out of left field since Destro took over in the first miniseries, but it's nice they get their time to shine. Well, Cobra has won, so I can't wait to see how they screw it up in the final episode. If you're wondering why I haven't mentioned the very obvious typo in the title, well, I only noticed it as I was doing my final pass before rendering this very video. I can't believe I missed that, so I'm mentioning it right here, right now. Consider this a test to see if people watch until after the credits. It's finally time to finish the Pyramid of Darkness miniseries. It's been a long trip, but today we're taking a look at Part 5, Nothing Cobra Coils. Okay, I know they mean tying a knot, but that word has other meanings.
Don't look it up.
Anyway, here's the briefest of recaps. Cobra has completed their Pyramid of Darkness, which deprives most of the world of electrical power.
Told you it was brief.
We start where we left off at the end of the last episode. Bazooka, Alpine and Quick Kick plummeting to their deaths on a Cobra cargo plane. They manage to avoid crashing, only to be shot by a Cobra helicopter. They still escape on the convenient trouble bubbles that are on board. And instead of escaping, they fly to that copter and take it over.
Joe headquarters, let's move it.
Why not just fly the trouble bubbles out of there? Maybe they're too short range, I don't know. Meanwhile, at G.I. Joe headquarters, Snake Eyes and Shipwreck arrive after having found a unique way to travel. They have the laser disc they stole from Cobra, but no power to play it. Meanwhile, on the G.I. Joe space station...
And no, I'll never get over the fact that the Joes have their own freaking space station!
They managed to get the whistle controlling the fatal fluffies away from Torch thanks to Junkyard. Normally, I'd be annoyed the bad guys let a dangerous dog just run around, but these are the Dreadnoks and they're pretty stupid. So stupid, in fact, that they are apparently unarmed, so the Joes can just rush them and take them prisoner. They shut down the pyramid, which is bad news for Cobra.
Calamity most foul! You twin twerps!
Okay, I've been informed that what he's saying here is twin twerps, but because of how Cobra Commander talks, I always thought it was twin twats.
Which would be a very bad word in the United Kingdom. Look, listen to it again for yourselves and decide.
You twin twerps!
With that, the Crimson Twins' little coup has ended and Cobra Commander is back in charge. He calls Destro at an, inopportune time.
Stop that, Destro!
She had something in her eye, Cobra Commander.
My eye she did.
He orders that a low-orbit version of the pyramid be activated. Not sure how that works, but whatever. With power restored, the Joes can access that laser disc and find out the cubes have a self-destruct mechanism at Cobra Temple.
Why would you build that in?
Well, now that I think about it, considering how often people go rogue on Cobra Commander, that's probably a good idea. Destro activates the smaller pyramid, meaning the Joes are in trouble again, especially Quick Kick's crew.
Bail out!
Too late!
An ad break cliffhanger, really? They survive the crash, of course, and Quick Kick is introduced to the team.
Regular on the Gang Show. Quick Kick, stuntman extraordinaire.
Hitched a ride with Major Blood to Cobra Temple under...
Rewind that part about the Cobra Temple.
Major Blood gave us a ride to Cobra Temple, but...
Okay, that's pretty funny.
So the Joes prepare to attack.
Let's move out!
Yo, Joe! Let's go!
Why the hell is Shipwreck in charge all of a sudden? The episode is at a halfway point, so that means the second half will be dedicated to a battle between the Joes and Cobra, which I think is pretty neat. And so the fight is on, with Cobra having another secret weapon.
Stroke! No strength!
Kinda weird they pull a secret weapon out of their ass at the last minute, but I can dig it. What I can't take is how the Joes deal with it.
Yodel? You gotta be kidding.
Look out!
Yeah, they beat it by yodeling. I know it's a callback, but still.
That is incredibly stupid, and I hate it.
It turns the tide, and the battle is over already.
But elsewhere we have prepared a final surprise for the Jews!
Okay, I did not see that coming.
They press the big self-destruct button that causes the cubes to, well, self-destruct. It'd be funny if it was a fake and just turned on a coffee machine or something, but it worked.
Now I'll never rule the world! I hate this job!
This miniseries does have some amazing quotes, I have to admit.
Also, that Rattler sure has a frickin' roomy cockpit, doesn't it? Two-seater plus room for a whining Supreme Leader. Plus there's all that leg room. Talk about luxury! Anyway, the Joes are in pursuit, but the terrorists escape by flying into the Twin Towers. Yeah, in hindsight, maybe they shouldn't have based extensive enterprises on the World Trade Center.
We shall soon activate a weapon which will destroy our enemies completely.
So that's 3 secret weapons in one miniseries. Nice to have redundancy, I suppose. Then the Twin Towers fall apart.
Yikes.
But it's to reveal that one is a giant rocket and the other the launch tower. Okay, question. How the hell did they manage to build that in the middle of a city without anybody noticing?
And is this gonna give Elon Musk ideas? And who shows up?
Need a lift?
I was genuinely shocked to see her coming back. It was a nice surprise. We switched to the space station where Zartan and the Dreadnoks managed to escape, finishing their part in the story with the Nox in a garbage spot and Zartan in an escape craft.
We'll get you for this, Zartan!
Yeah, that's assuming you don't burn up on re-entry.
We don't get an explanation of how Taylor Swift got there, but she leads them to the cockpit where they fight the Commander and the twins. Well, the Commander doesn't fight as much as he gets his ass handed to him by Taylor, magnetizing his helmet to the control panel. The rocket does take off, but is uncontrollable. The Swifties escape in trouble bubbles, making those things the MVPs for escape vehicles this episode. Also, for some reason, they don't appear to have guns. With the rocket out of control and the Joes about to blow it up, everything finally is all lost as the bad guys use an escape pod of their own.
Quite a lot of that going on this episode, isn't it?
And so the day is saved as the rocket explodes, the Joes celebrate, and Shipwreck gets a girlfriend.
Yo, Shipwreck!
It won't last.
The bad guys end up in the world's most unconvincing disguises as they take a subway, bickering all the while.
We should have taken control sooner.
You had everything under control until you imbeciles got pretentious.
The episode, and indeed the whole miniseries, ends with Flint inviting Lady J to dinner.
And that was the Pyramid of Darkness.
The final episode was great, though it did have more endings than The Lord of the Rings. Unlike the previous two miniseries, all the bad guys get away at the end, because they knew there was going to be a full cartoon series after it. I would have liked it better if the final battle had been longer, and one big thing, instead of the whole rocket thing though.
As for the complete miniseries...
Well, overall, I liked it well enough, though it was definitely the goofiest and most out there one of them all, thanks in no small part to the Fatal Fluffies, and, I'm going to say it one more time, the Joes having their own frickin' space station. I do like most of the humor in it, especially the stuff between the various members of Cobra.
We're finally done. As for what's next for the cartoon reviews, you're gonna have to wait and see. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing.
Starship Pops! Starship Pops!
Jump around! Jump around! Jump up and get down! And your bollocks did up good, you did.
Should they get a...
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.